Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/EntitledPeople Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Neighbors kept parking in our space. I froze them out. After that, am I the jerk for telling my fiancée she's not the breadwinner if she's not paying the bills? And after that, you want me to search for non-existent products? Got it. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take anyone's parking space. How about I just key your car instead, Reddit boy? So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Neighbors kept parking in our space. I froze them out. This happened around 20 years ago. Our family owned 2 apartment buildings, 3 units each. We lived in 2 of them, rented out the other 4. There's nothing but these 3 flats lining both sides of the road for about a mile. Not all have parking. On the side streets are houses and very little street parking. We had more land than most of these units since it was also our home. So we had parking for around 16 cars. Everything was fine for literally decades. Then cars started appearing in our parking lot that were not our tenants. I blocked one in one day, went outside to see this jerk driving through our bushes and cutting across the yard to get out. I called the cops, nothing they could do. So I called a tow company and I had them put up signs. We'd have to call them to have a car towed. The signs seemed to work. No more random cars. Until New Year's Eve one year. I arrive home and every space is filled. There are even cars on the street blocking in the other cars. I'm beyond upset. I call the tow company. They can't do anything for a few hours because they're so busy. We're in the Chicago suburbs. It's below 0 out. I have an idea. I dig out the lawn sprinklers and hoses. I run one hose inside to the laundry room faucet and turn on the hot water. This way, the hose and sprinklers won't ice up, but the cars and ground sure did. 3 sprinklers moved every half hour or so, for almost 5 hours. Every car, every square inch of the parking lot, the street by the cars, encased in ice. I made a point to spray ice in the locks, between the window seals and glass, in the grills, put away the sprinklers and hoses, went to bed. 4 a.m., furious pounding on the doors, doorbells ringing nonstop. We just smiled and called the cops, waited until they arrived and went outside. Cops were holding back laughter. These people were told to park here by their friend who owned an apartment several buildings away, the same idiot who drove over our bushes. I pointed to the tow sign and told the people to move their cars or get towed. In our town, cops can ticket on private property with the owner's permission, so all cars were ticketed. They were also towed since nobody could get in their vehicles. Wish we had it on video. Am I the jerk for telling my fiancée she's not the breadwinner if she's not paying the bills? My fiancée and I moved in together shortly before we got engaged. Before we did, we discussed how we'd split the housework and bills, 50-50 down the middle with some wiggle room for when the other needs help. When we moved, it was into her parents' 2-story garage that they converted into basically an apartment. They offered a low rent, $700 total, and pitch in for the electric and internet so we could save money for our own place and wedding. My fiancée earns more than me, and that's cool. I'm proud of her. Before we moved in together, it always seemed like she was living paycheck to paycheck, and I chalked it up to the apartment she had prior having insane high rent. She stuck to the 50-50 arrangement at first concerning bills, but she missed often, and I had to remind her about it. Post-engagement, she's back to living paycheck to paycheck, either missing or very late with her part of the rent monthly. The 2 utilities we pay, groceries, late with her car payment. Her parents have talked to me multiple times about rent, and I've covered her missing portion to get us caught up, and then tried talking to her. It always turns into her saying we should just move if her parents are going to hound us. I told her we're lucky it's her parents, because anywhere else they would have kicked us out by now. On top of that, I pay my own bills, do about 65% of the housework, arrange and pay for most of our dates and vacations, gifts for her, pay most towards our pets. I've suggested a financial coach, but what kicks me is whenever we're around others, she boasts about being the breadwinner since she earns more. Goes on about the stress of being the main source of income, all the hours she has to work to pay all of our bills. I was letting it slide until a few days ago when we were at a get-together. She and her sister started up again about her being the breadwinner. Her sister said something to the effect of her ex-boyfriend had a hard time being with someone who earned more, and my fiancé went, "Good thing OP doesn't mind me bringing home the pay." I told her just because she earns more doesn't make her the breadwinner when she blows it all on herself, and I'm paying most of the bills. She's embarrassed now and keeps saying I made her look bad and I got her in trouble with her parents because they want to see what she spends her money on each month. But I don't think I did anything wrong. Am I the jerk? Update. 11 last night, I was ready to just postpone the engagement. As of this morning, after a lot of talking and things coming to light, we are broken up. Thank you everyone for your responses and input, especially those who encouraged looking deeper. Quick summary. She felt a joint account would impede her financial independence. She insisted we could afford her purchases based off of our total income. Her parents were under the impression she was also paying off my student loans, my car, my phone, and paying for our vacations. She didn't get evicted from her last apartment, but she was late with her rent often enough that they weren't going to renew her lease, so she didn't suggest us moving to a bigger apartment at her building. Biggest nope, I'm out. The monthly take-home amount she told me was what she earned before wage garnishment kicked in addition to mass debt. She's been doing some online stuff to make up for the money she lost due to that. Yes, I got the ring back. Again, thank you everyone, but I will not be responding to any more comments. I'm going to take some time for myself and get things figured out. Not the jerk. Though you're focusing on the wrong problem. Forget perception. You need to sort out her financial irresponsibility before you marry, or things aren't going to get better. OP. I have put the brakes on any more wedding planning until she either sees a financial coach or therapist to figure out what's up with her way of doing things. What does she spend it all on? OP. I know some of what she spends it on. Going out for lunch, different hair and skin products, accessories for her car, house decor, pretty much anything she sees that she feels she needs to have right then and there. Yup, that's a problem. That's not going to get better with time. I think you taking a stand about financial education is a wise move. I agree. Before I was able to get my ADHD under control, I would blow lots of money on the absolutely dumbest things because I felt like I needed it. Looking back, it was purely a serotonin boost to make myself feel better about whatever I was dealing with at the time. I'm gonna hop on here and give you insight as someone who married into that exact situation. My ex-husband financially ruined us. By the time we divorced, I was over 12 grand in debt on one credit card alone. He made over $120,000 a year and couldn't help pay bills. At the time, I made $32,000 a year. You can see how this would be stressful. It caused us to absolutely tear each other apart. Took me years to straighten my finances out. Never again. Never ever marry someone who has zero money management skills. It sounds like you're very aware and making the right decisions. If she absolutely cannot stop spending the way she is, you may need to cut her loose. Money is one of the biggest factors in divorce. Can absolutely second this. My ex-husband was horrendous with money. Add that to his inability to not get fired from every job he had due to his attitude problem, it left me to cover everything. When he did get a job, instead of working to pay off the debts we had accumulated in the 9 months he had been unemployed, he'd spend all his money on expensive stuff we just didn't need. Bigger TVs, game consoles, holidays. Then he'd overspend and not have enough left to pay the mortgage, so again, I had to cover it. Out of fear of losing our house, I had to keep borrowing money just to keep us above water, and by the time we separated, I had 25,000 pounds of debt in my name. He had debts even higher than mine, but honestly, I don't know what he was spending it on. I found out months later that he had also had friends take out massive loans for him, over 20,000 pounds over the years, and I have absolutely no idea where that money went. I've still got 18,000 pounds to pay off. It's going to take me years. Never again. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his fiancée? Please let us know. If you understand how money works, don't marry someone who doesn't. You want me to search for non-existent products? Got it. 3 years ago, I was working in a popular local cafe in the middle of a big city. Obviously, there were a lot of customers during rush hours, and of course, the usual Karens. At the time of this story, I was just finishing my training to be fully hired. The manager, Steve, was an utterly obnoxious person who was overall very disturbing. He'd tell us to do something, then change his mind while we were halfway through it. Anyways, he wasn't exactly competent, but we were low on staff and the owner desperately needed a manager. So this one day, I'm just clocking in and I see my first clients are a bunch of kids and they're Karen of a mom. Yes, she had the haircut. The following conversation ensued. Karen, what are your muffin flavors? Me, we have, and I name all the muffin flavors. Karen interrupts me. No, I'll just take one of those special edition muffins. points to the back of the kitchen, like she's expecting me to make them for her. Me, oh, sorry, those are limited edition muffins. We don't have them anymore. Karen rolls her eyes. Yeah, I know. Just give me 5 of them. Me, a bit louder, thinking she didn't hear me. We don't have those anymore, ma'am. I'm sorry. Just give me them. What's wrong with you? Get me your manager. Now, at this point, I'm pretty upset because this woman is screaming at the top of her lungs and gathering all of the attention towards her. So I do as she asked, and I get her the manager. Steve looks mad as soon as I disturb him. He goes to see the Karen and comes back to me. Steve, just give her the muffins, now. Me, we don't have any of those muffins left. I already explained that to her. There are some left, just find them. Me, where are they? I'm pretty positive we don't have any left. Steve, I don't care about your opinion. Just go find them already. Ask others to help you find them if you're that dumb. And don't go back to that lady or any other clients until you find those muffins. Me, thinking about what he just said. Okay, sir, I'll give her the muffins. Steve, that's better. So I go and try to find them everywhere in the store. Of course, there are none left as the muffins are seasonal items, and since none arrived in stock, there are no special edition muffins left. Cue malicious compliance. Since Steve told me to not go back to that lady or any other clients until I found the muffins, I do exactly that. Since he also told me to ask others for help, I make sure to let every employee know my desperate need for help in finding the muffins. In the end, since no one liked Steve anyways, we all went searching for the muffins. For several hours, clients kept pouring in until one of them dared to ask what we were all doing running around. I calmly explained that our manager sent us searching for something and we couldn't work until we found it. I insisted that our hands were tied and we couldn't serve them until our manager said so. Every single client went banging on Steve's door demanding to talk to him. As soon as he opened the door, everyone started yelling at him to let the employees serve them. Visibly confused by so many people in the cafe and in front of him, he shouted my name. I wasn't allowed to stop searching, so I replied by yelling back too. He eventually came in front of me and asked me what was going on. The following conversation was priceless. Me, oh, I was just searching for the muffins. Steve, looking like he was about to pass out. What? Why? Me, well, you asked me to find them or to get help if needed. You insisted I shouldn't go serve anyone until I find them. Since we never found them, we never got to work again. Steve, realizing he just lost hours of profits. Seriously? Go back to work, now. Me, with a smug look on my face. But we didn't find the muffins yet, sir. Would you like to search with us? Steve went ballistic on me, saying that this was insubordination, that I had the IQ of a slug, etc. Meanwhile, the Karen sent multiple complaints to the owner about the manager. At the end of the day, the owner personally came in to announce to Steve that he was fired and replaced by one of my coworkers. We never had any other seasonal muffins after that. Speaking of muffins, what's your favorite flavor muffin of all time? Please let us know. I gotta go with the double chocolate, bruh. Yes. Am I the jerk for canceling a girl's appointment the day of her baby shower? I, female 17, am a part-time braider and I take my job very seriously because this is how I make money and this is what I want to do for my career. I work from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekends. School is my first priority, and on weekends, enjoying my weekend is important too. I have my policy on my booking link, so before you even book an appointment, you have to read my policy. A couple policies I have are no show equals no further appointments, 30 minutes grace period. After that, your appointment will be canceled. No extra people, etc., etc. Most of my clients respect my rules and always come through. This girl, Tiffany, booked an appointment with me for June 4th at 3 p.m. She was getting a wig installed, no braid down, just application, so I had another client right after her for braids. If you wear braids or do braids, you know braids can take hours. Braids already take hours, plus she booked a takedown and shampoo, so that's extra time. It came time for Tiffany's appointment, so I was setting everything up for her, and 3 p.m. came and she wasn't there. I have a 30-minute grace period, so I wasn't worried. After 15 minutes, I texted her and asked was she still coming and never received a text back. It was going on 3:45, so I just took it as a no-show and put all my stuff away and started getting the stuff ready for my next client. I texted Tiffany and told her her appointment was canceled, but she could come pick up her wig. It was customized and everything for free. All she needed was someone else to install it for her. I never received a text back. My next client came around 4:30 and I started working on her head. Maybe around 5:30ish, my mom called me and told me I had a client at the door. I work out of my house, and to come see what she was getting at because she was cutting up outside. I stopped in the middle of my client's hair to go see who it was, and it was Tiffany. She was losing it on me, saying I ruined her baby shower and why was her appointment canceled. So I explained to her my policy and that she wasn't just 30 minutes late or even an hour late. She was 2 hours late and I couldn't do her hair anymore. I gave her a wig and sent her on her way. She started talking about me on social media, and everybody in the comments are dragging me down, saying I'm unprofessional and to not book with me when I've been nothing but professional. If you can't respect me and my rules, you just won't get your hair done by me. There's plenty of other hairstylists where we stay. My mom said I'm not wrong, but I'm getting a lot of messages, and she's getting a lot of comments on her post talking about how unprofessional I'm being when I did nothing but respect her and her time. I've even had a client cancel an appointment after seeing her post. I'm losing money and clients over this petty mess, and I know I'm not wrong. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. She was 2 hours late for her appointment. You don't exist to fix whatever works best for her schedule or work at her beck and call. I would be inclined to make a comment responding to her. Dear Tiffany, I do my best to accommodate clients in their busy schedules. However, clients are made aware prior to booking their appointment of my policy concerning appointment cancellation for those who are more than half an hour late to their appointment's time. You were over 2 hours late and did not respond to my attempt to reach you. I had to attend to clients whose appointments were after yours. As a show of good faith, I provided you with your wig already styled at no cost. I am disappointed you were left with such a negative impression of my business despite my best attempts to work with you. Don't forget to show screenshots of you trying to text her about her appointment along with timestamps. If people are your clients, they should know your policy. Not the jerk. She was 2 hours late. There is no professional who takes clients 2 hours late without issues. She didn't even reach out to tell you that she was delayed. As a fellow hairstylist, absolutely not the jerk. Your clients also need to respect your time and your business, and it's not your problem when she A, didn't communicate, and B, was 2 hours late. Forget that noise. I'm so sorry it's negatively affecting your business, but you don't have to bend over backwards to accommodate people who show you no respect. Absolutely not. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Tiffany? Please let us know. Tiffany? I think I had breakfast with her once. How do I tell my parents they still owe me $10,000? Ever since I could start making money, I started saving. By the time I was 16 years old, I had bought my first car, which was $1,700, with cash, and I still had $1,500 in a savings account with a full-time job and a second part-time job. My parents had full access to this account because I was still a minor. When I was 17, my family took a trip that my parents couldn't afford. They asked me if they could use some of my savings and said they would pay me back. I agreed. Little did I know that they would use that as permission to take money out regularly. Hundreds of dollars every month for 3 years. When I finally realized, I stopped putting money in that account, opened a checking account, and a new savings account at a different bank. The last time they took money out was August of last year. I was 20 at the time. I worked for them as well, and many times I would just not get paid. I always kept track of that, and I still know the exact amount they missed. I always kept track of how much I should have had, in writing, every check, every payment, and every withdrawal I made. I knew exactly how much I should have had in my account, and it was well over $10,000. And with that money, I wanted a new car. $18,000 was the cost, and by selling my other car, I had enough and then some, or so I thought. When I went to check out how much was in my first savings account, it was empty. I had nothing in the account. There should have been $10,000 or more, and it was empty. I went straight to my parents and told them I wanted this new vehicle and asked them to help me pay for it because they still owed me money. They were reluctant at first and denied owing me so much, but I practically begged for them to help me. They finally did and paid the remainder of my work money, $3,000, and they bought my old car from me for $5,000. I paid the rest with the money from my new savings account. I moved out last October, and when I brought up the money they owed me, I was told they don't owe me more than $1,000, because they paid for my phone and car insurance while I was living with them, and they helped pay for my newest car. We never had rules about my bills, they just paid for it without a word. I'm okay with deducting that from the total, but I'd rather not. It was money I made fairly, and they never told me I had to pay them anything, and I did offer. As for the car, they only paid off my work money, not even the money they took from me. In total, they owe me over $10,000. I have no idea how to bring this up and how I could even win this battle. I'm looking to buy a house and have a wedding soon. That extra money would be extremely helpful, and our relationship is still rocky since I moved out. I don't want to make things worse, but it is a lot of money that I kind of need. I would bet that since they probably set it up and their name was on the account, they were legally able to take money out. It depends on if you really want or need to have a relationship with them. Pushing it will probably end the relationship and you will still be out of the money. Good luck on whatever you decide. I agree with him. Suing will destroy your relationship with your parents. I would confront them with your pile of evidence. Realize your parents are both bad with money and don't have good boundaries. This will never change. It's who they are. The issue of them owing you $10,000 may never get resolved. It's a hard day when you realize mom and dad are not all of what you thought or wanted or needed. Can you live with this? I think you should call this one a win. You know never to loan them money in the future, no matter what they promise, and that they aren't above stealing from you. Keep your stuff protected and take a loss on what they still owe you. A lawsuit is the only real answer, and that's not worth the $5,000-ish they owe you, especially since you seem to be really, really good with money. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you sue your parents for the $10,000 they owed you or not? Please let us know. I'd consider doing what my friend Lizzie did. They made a song about her. Am I the jerk for telling my wife that putting our son to bed was now her job and then moving my bed into a separate room? The situation is basically that I, 35 male, and my wife, 29 female, have a 2-year-old son. She is a stay-at-home mom and I work full-time, usually from 6:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. or so. Being a toddler, my son should generally be sleeping between 11 and 14 hours a day. Therefore, what my wife and I aim for is for him to wake up at 7 a.m., do all the typical daily activities, take a nap starting between 1:30 p.m. and 2 p.m. for 2 hours, and then go to bed again at 8 p.m. This would give him a good 13 hours of sleep a day. I'm typically in charge of getting him to sleep at night, while she obviously puts him down for his afternoon nap. For the past several months, my wife has gotten incredibly lazy with putting him to bed. I understand that it's not always easy, but she has essentially worked out a new system. She waits for him to be utterly exhausted at about 4 p.m., puts him in bed, and then wakes him up between 6 and as late as 6:30. Therefore, when I try to get him to go to bed between 8 and 9, he's not tired at all. It's basically a horrible wrestling match to get him to go to sleep as he shrieks and bites and doesn't want to sleep because he's simply not tired. It takes me up to 2.5 hours to get him to go to sleep, which is horribly unfun for both of us. Last night, I finally told my wife that until she fixes his sleep schedule, I'm not going to clean up her mess anymore. I moved my bed into another room, locked the door, and went to bed as she put him to sleep. This morning, she was exhausted from doing so, and in a terrible mood because apparently having to do what I've been doing for months was bad. She told me that I need to be more active in helping out with him, and I responded that I'll happily do so once she actually gets him down for his nap at a reasonable time. I honestly don't think I'm out of line here, but am I being a jerk? Not the jerk. Toddler is a difficult age. Their needs are constantly changing. He might not be tired at 1:30 to 2 anymore, but your wife is still trying to get him down, which he can't take much longer if he's not tired, as you well know from the nighttime struggles. Sounds like he's starting to transition out of the daily nap phase. It's a hard milestone on the parents because toddler will get tired without a nap, but too close to bedtime, so you either have to deal with a cranky toddler in the evenings until this passes, or do an earlier bedtime, which will cause the kiddo to get up early. Please be patient with each other. Raising a kid is hard on both parents. This is the answer. Skip the daytime nap and put him to bed earlier in the evening. Napping isn't helping anymore, and lots of kids grow out of daytime naps, especially when home all day versus childcare centers. You're the jerk. Your kid is having some typical sleep struggles. Your wife isn't being lazy with his naps. It sounds like she's having a hard time getting him to actually go to sleep. You're blaming her instead of acting like a parent and trying to work out a solution together. If anyone's being lazy here, it's you. Right? It seems like kids go through nap struggles all the time. I imagine this kid throws the same tantrum at 1:30 that he's doing at 8, hence the pushed back nap time. Kids aren't clocks, sir. Seems extremely unfair to call her lazy when I can only imagine she is trying. You're the jerk. Parenting requires constant communication. To lock her out at 8 p.m. is wild. Let's not even mention that you really only see your kid between the hours of 5:30 to 8 p.m., which isn't fair division of labor if she's a stay-at-home mom. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for blowing up at my fiancé for giving my future mother-in-law our wedding coordinator's number? My fiancé, Edgar, is my future mother-in-law's only son. She's so attached to him and is excited for our wedding. We've had a relatively long engagement and we're finally getting married soon. I've been trying to keep her involved as much as possible, but she just kept getting further with her expectations. She'd email me lists of questions about 5 or 6 times a week. She'd ask me the same questions over and over, expecting a different answer. When she doesn't get a different answer, my future father-in-law will call me and start pushing the same thing. It's made me anxious and stressed out. Edgar says that she just wants to make sure the wedding is flawless and felt like some of the choices I made during wedding planning were poor. She went to our former wedding coordinator and bombarded her with tens of questions and even called her many times trying to change things we've already picked out, saying all choices made were based on zero experience and wrong. She even pretended to be me at some point. This caused a huge fight between us, and I ended up starting all over with a new wedding coordinator and completely getting future mother-in-law out of wedding planning process. Future mother-in-law lashed out at me for it, and Edgar said that I was being too hard on his mom. Last week, I found out that he went against my wishes and gave his mom our wedding coordinator contact info, and his mom ended up finding out about all of our plans. I blew up at him and told him he violated my boundaries and betrayed my trust. He said it was no big deal and that his mom genuinely means no harm, even if her and I don't agree most of the time. We had an argument and I went to stay with my dad for a few days. Edgar kept texting saying I was overreacting and that I was being too hard on him and his mom. Am I overreacting? Note, she isn't contributing anything to the wedding except her input and experience. My dad is the one paying for the wedding. He never tried to give me an opinion or suggest anything regarding the wedding. He just told me to have the wedding as I had always envisioned it. Welcome to your new life. Expect her to help organizing every aspect of her son's life in the future. If you're lucky, you might get to have some small bit of input as a concession, but it looks as if you are marrying 2 people. This comment 100%. Tip of the iceberg, OP. Yes, this is the trailer. Do you really want to see this film? If you're not prepared to leave, and he's not prepared to learn to set boundaries or understand why that's important, people do learn to live with spouses like this. They cope with having their wishes disrespected, their lives controlled. They learn to lie. They learn to evade. They learn to lean more heavily on their social support systems, to make their friends a refuge from their romantic relationship and normalize the idea that a romantic relationship should be this stifling, stressful thing that requires a refuge. It's a pretty common predicament, and I'm sure you could make a long list of people in your life who have made it if you sat down and thought about it. Before you commit to that life, sit down and think about all the huge decisions that come up in the course of a marriage, ones where you now know your own wishes about your own life would be disregarded. Your kids, their health care, their education, financial issues like who works, whose career gets prioritized, major purchases, budgets. Consider too that you're not just making this decision for you. If you're bringing kids into this dynamic, it will cast a long shadow over their lives. You will want to ask them to be your confidants and co-conspirators at a young age because you entered a marriage where you can't communicate directly with your spouse. They will resent that, but still internalize that dishonesty and disrespect are central components of family life and have dysfunctional romantic relationships of their own. And that's without even getting into whatever decisions mother-in-law wants to make about their upbringing, ones you'll have to either accept or lie convincingly about and get your kids to do the same. It's not the worst life in the world, plenty of people do it, but make the decision with clear eyes. Is it just me or do weddings seem to bring out the worst in people? Am I the jerk for embarrassing a customer who refused to get out of my checkout line? I, 20 male, work part-time at my dad's grocery store. Usually if it gets too busy, we open up the express lane for customers that are buying 12 items or less. Of course, we get those customers that don't bother to read the 2 big signs right at checkout that say this is for 12 items or less, and they try to ignore other workers until they put everything on the conveyor belt. I usually tell them to get out of the line and refuse to check out their groceries so they move somewhere else. Not always. I'd say for me, there's been like 2 times where this happens. Yesterday, this one guy had a whole cart full of groceries. I was scanning items from the lady in front of him, but said out loud that this is the express lane and he's gonna have to go to another line. He completely ignored me. Called him again to say the same thing, and he was nodding at me, but still taking everything out of his cart. So I already knew he was trying to be slick, ignoring me, so I ended up scanning his stuff anyways. After finishing with the lady in front of him, again I told him to take his stuff to the other line. He gets mad at me, saying to just do it already, but I'm upset. There were already a couple of people that came in to wait in line behind him. He told me he's had a long day and to just please not make it harder on him and to do my job. So in that moment, I just decided forget it. I closed that register and told everyone behind him to move to the next line so I could help them there. So he was basically left there alone, but I could hear him quietly saying something, putting everything back in the cart again to go to another line. And obviously, everyone was watching him too. One of my coworkers said he was talking a lot of crap for me being so unprofessional, and he didn't deserve to be treated that way in front of everyone. He spoke with one of the managers, but they basically told him the same thing, that he wasn't supposed to be on that line in the first place. However, the reason I'm asking if I'm the jerk is because one of my coworkers said that I should have just let him do it, since the whole thing really bothered the guy. My dad doesn't take crap from customers, and he'll back up another employee if they need to. So that's the attitude I have about it too. But since it did make someone else's day harder, since he said he was already having a bad day, does that make me a jerk since I really could have let it slide, but I didn't? From a customer point of view, I applaud you, and I would have paid extra just to watch you put him in his place. It annoys me to no end that customers ignore what is going on around them, and considering those waiting in lines behind him would have been quietly upset at him for being so special. Good on you. Great job. Well done.
Huge shout out to our newest official channel member, Jasmine. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means the world to Reddit Boy and I. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.